Did Sonic Movie 3 truly nail Shadow? A deep dive into the SA2 versus movie comparison. Sonic the Hedgehog, a series with a bunch of lovable characters that have their unique features and character arcs within the series. From Tails to Sage, all of these characters have shown interesting moments and have interesting story arcs within the series, but none are as pulverizing as Shadow the Hedgehog. Shadow the Hedgehog was a character in which fans still don't understand and just believe he's a grumpy or an emo character. But there's something more. There's a lot of things more than just that. Before I begin, I would appreciate if you guys like and subscribe for more anime, manga, and in general, fictional content. Oh, and happy holidays to anybody that celebrates it. I'll be uploading this on the 24th, which means I won't be able to say anything in the 25th. Hopefully you all had great holidays. Lastly, I'd like to thank you for all the recent support. Anyways, I hope y'all enjoy. Shadow the Hedgehog, a character who became popular by his first game, Sonic Adventure 2. He was a huge benefactor as a reason the game did so well. Of course, not only that, but the fact that the gameplay was also amazing and still holds up pretty much to this day. Of course, there are a couple moments that I wish, could have been fixed. Shadow was a character that from the jump interested the viewer in Sonic Adventure 2. Sonic questioning Shadow about him stealing one of the Chaos Emeralds. Not only that, but we see him completely speed past Sonic with his Chaos powers, completely shocking the player. After all, we've never seen Sonic completely in shock over someone's speed like that, which is why he intrigued us. Also, let's not forget about the character design, his black fur to identify his strength, power, and most importantly, mourning, with his black highlights which identify his passion, danger, and anger. His hair being spiked up, relating him that he has chaos powers in his base form. You know how Super Sonic has his hair spiked up because he has chaos powers in him. In the early bits of the game, he was mysterious with what his purpose and goal was, hooking the players with everything shown. Shadow the Hedgehog in the movie started the same. He terrorized Japan and even fought against the main cast, defeating every single one of them, starting with Knuckles and ending with Sonic. It's clear to the viewer that Shadow is much more powerful than the opponents Sonic was fighting previously, and it was the first time we've seen the main crew completely lose the way they did in comparison to the rest of the films. The only time that it was previously as dangerous as it was when Super Sonic fought against the Death Egg. But this time it seemed different. That's because it was different. But I'll get on that later. We know one thing, and that's that he is angry at something and has something mysterious about him. As I laid out, the introduction to Shadow in the films were great and effective, just like in the games, giving me promise over what the future will hold in this film. In Sonic Adventure 2, the sense of Shadow's story is the sense of grief and how to deal with grief. Shadow in the game was someone who was hurt over the death of his best friend, Maria, believing that vengeance is the clear path that must be taken in order to satisfy the pain in his heart that was there after the death of his best friend, Maria. Throughout Sonic Adventure 2, we learned that he was doing things from the shadows, making sure no one knows of his actual plan, and even tricked the genius Dr. Eggman. His main goal was to destroy the Earth for the pain of losing Maria, believing that taking vengeance on the Earth for taking away his Maria is what the world deserves, or at least that's what he believed the Earth deserved. He grabbed all the Chaos Emeralds to prepare the Eclipse Cannon, a cannon that was able to destroy the Earth, and one that we learned could destroy the moon as it cut through it. Shadow uses Eggman's arrogance in taking over the Earth to execute his main plan, and that is dying with the space colony arc and the Earth. All lives that had caused him pain would be gone, and he will live a life in the afterlife with Maria. The film hit this as well. His motivation was shown throughout the film, and even making the connection with Shadow and Maria even stronger than it was. It proves that these two were like siblings. We never got an understanding of their relationship till latest Sonic X Shadow Generations. But of course, I won't go fully in depth with that, mostly because I'm just talking about Sonic Adventure 2 Shadow. And secondly, my game hasn't arrived yet. I bought the collector's edition, which means I have to wait till next year to receive that. Yeah, no way I'm getting that. At least not yet, but I will be in the future. Once I receive the game, I will be writing a narrative analysis on Shadow in the future, if you guys want. Just make sure to let me know in the comments. The relationship that Shadow and Maria had in this movie was brilliant. The film had it better than the games. As in Sonic Adventure 2, the relationship between Shadow and Maria was not as built as it was in the film. Since we see Maria be the first person to show Shadow that he is a kind person at heart, and that people shouldn't be afraid of him, unlike the people like Gun, who are afraid of his power and making Shadow secluded. That was until he met Maria. She is like a sister to him, showing him how to have fun and appreciate those around you. So when her death happened on screen, it hit harder, because it showed us why Shadow cared, especially why he cares so much about her. This made Shadow and Gerald come up with a plan to destroy the Earth, pretty much the same way as the source material, which is fantastic. There was a lack of one thing that was different from the games, which of course is the biohazard, but he doesn't really matter at this current moment. The evolution of Shadow's character is one that he has to understand that what he was doing was wrong. And this is where the movie is flat out weaker than the games. As in the games, Shadow was standing there alone, believing that what he has done and what he's been doing was right for Maria, and that the others, even Eggman, were trying to shut down the space colony arc to save the Earth. That was when Amy found him and talked to him. The talk was about how if Maria would have wanted Shadow to do this. One of Amy's strongest qualities is reading people and helping them if there's something wrong mentally. And she noticed this with Shadow. Even though he's done so much harm to them, even fought Sonic during the Space Colony arc in the fight that we don't know who was the victor of that fight. Even with all that, she went up to him and talked. She was able to show him that the gut feeling he had during all the game was because he was in the wrong. That feeling that he had that he shouldn't have been doing this, that was right. But he was too in the hatred and vengeance to realize that till now. He didn't realize that what he was doing was wrong and wasn't what Maria wanted. What she wanted was for him to live, even if she wasn't there, and continue to protect the Earth. Of course, Shadow evolves past this in later games, but I am not referring to that Shadow. I'm referring to the Shadow in Sonic Adventure 2, so I will be going too in depth into that. Of course, that's for now. I will be going in depth with that in the future. But this was the perfect way for Shadow to realize that what he was doing was wrong. Especially because it was a slow evolution throughout the game. Which is why that speech was so impactful to his character and made him realize the error of his ways. In the movie, Shadow's realization was much cooler than in the games. But the storytelling was much worse. It was a fight between Supersonic and Shadow. This fight was absolutely stunning, even showing us that Shadow was the ultimate life form and beating Supersonic. But the growth of his character was when he transformed and when he wanted to show Sonic that he was the same, allowing Sonic to take the victory in the second round. And waiting for him to finish him off to show that all heroes can never just be heroes. Because once they lose a loved one, they will crack and break. Which is what Sonic was doing, almost losing Tom. That broke him. Before realizing that what he was doing is not what Tom wanted. A very powerful speech between the two happened, as he talked to Shadow about grief. But even with the grief everyone has, you still have the ability to do the right choices. Shadow, of course, then asked if Sonic was able to get through the grief and get rid of the pain. and Sonic answered with the truth, and how it still lingered on, and it adds to this scene and makes it perfect. And it made me appreciate the moment between the two. The main issue with the scene is how fast Shadow changed. Outside of that, I thought it was great, but it's not as strong as in the games because the games took a gradual change. It didn't just happen in an instant. If this movie was longer, I could see them executing this perfectly. That's no fault to the movie, but they executed it in what the purpose of Shadow was in Sonic Adventure 2, and how he shouldn't allow the pain of losing Maria to weigh him down, and should make him be the ultimate lifeline and help everyone he can, because new connections will come. Now, Sonic and Shadow working together in the movie, it was done beautifully. If you haven't yet watched it, go and watch it. And if you haven't watched it, why the heck are you here? Though as a Shadow fan, I was worried how would they execute this, as his character is very complex, and I was worried that they ruin it, just like some other media. Instead, they learned his character and hit it right. But this is only the beginning of Shadow's character. He evolves into one better in later games, where he doesn't view as Maria as his goal in protecting and caring. He found his own goal. Not only that, but I did worry that they'd make him just a miserable character that was angry every second. He was on scene, but that wasn't the case. The depression and anger were there in his eyes, but the final moments throughout the film evolved his character past this and made him the character my 8-year-old self would have imagined on screen. So yes, Sonic 3 nailed Shadow, and it makes me excited for more characters in the future that will be introduced.